Hi everyone, we're reading again today from Murder in the Kollel, up to chapter 20, Slipknot. It was 10:30 in the evening when we got to Daphna's house because we had to stop at the hospital to get her toe x-rayed. She broke it this time. They only had to tape her 2 toes together, but for the next few days she was not going to be running around too much. We were seated at her kitchen table and Mrs. Kolell was serving us food that she'd kept warm for us. Curried chicken on rice. It was delicious, as always. I hadn't had lunch or dinner, and I could eat a horse. Actually, I couldn't. A horse is not kosher. I was already on my 3rd helping, and it was so good that I did not even mind that Daphna's mother had not stopped berating us since we entered the house. She was really ticked off at both of us. She was using her 4 questions over and over. Most of her comments were about what big idiots we were, that we were to blame for all the problems that had plagued our investigation. She reminded us about the mugger, the car explosion, and now the attempted slaughter of Daphna, as if we could forget. It was almost midnight when we finally got down to the vault. At least a couple of dozen people called, but she did not pick up, and all the calls went to voicemail. "Are you up to this?" I asked Daphna. "Do you mean, can I do my computer wizardry after getting freaked out of my skull by almost getting killed again this afternoon, and after only sleeping 3 hours in the past 24? Is that what you mean?" Yeah, I said sheepishly. "I can do it. Working the computers will keep my mind from delving too deep into what just happened. I'll be fine." "How are you going to find the car?" "Well, if Slattery gives me permission to enter the traffic surveillance systems of Shiawassee, Clinton, and Ingham counties, that will make my life simpler. Once I get that, I will set my computers to recognize a 209 Chevy with a Malibu front and an Impala back." "White Chevys," I said, correcting her. "No, any color," she said, correcting me. "If it was painted once, it could have been painted again. So any color. What is not going to change is the Malibu Impala combination." "You're right. I did not think of that," I said with an acquiescent nod of my head. Daphna made a mock bow, as if accepting an accolade, and continued, Then I will go back to the night Rabbi Klein died and try to see where the car went after it left the vicinity of Rabbi Klein's house." "You can do that? Go back over a month?" I asked. "Used to be the systems work with tapes, and there was no way to get that stuff. But now it's all digital, and most cameras have a 3-month backup. So if I can get in, I can find it," she said. "How many cameras are we talking about?" I inquired. "I'm not sure, but it is probably between 300 and 400. "Are you kidding me? That's impossible," I exclaimed. "Hey, if it was easy, you would not need me," she said stoically. "There was something else that was bothering me," I said. "About the car?" "No, about our discussion with Mrs. Silverman at the Hillel house." "What did she say?" "It's what she didn't say." "Okay, what didn't she say?" "She told us that her lawyers advised her not to mention anything about Robinson Klein's accusations and their encounter. So my question is, what else is she not talking about?" "What do you mean?" "We assume that Rabbi Klein is a good guy, doing volunteer work and helping students that have emotional problems." "Suicidal problems," she corrected. "Exactly," I said with a nod of my head. "What if he was not always successful?" "What do you mean, not successful?" "That he did not show up for a meeting with a student?" she asked. "No, what if it was not successful in preventing a suicide?" "That could happen." "Sure it could. And what would the families of the person that killed themselves think of Rabbi Klein?" "That he was not successful. That's obvious." "Not so obvious," I corrected. "It is just possible that they could think that he or the Hillel house are responsible." "Wow, you're right. Do you think that's who killed Rabbi Klein?" "I have no idea, but we need to check out that possibility." "Should we contact Miss Silverman and ask her?" "Waste of time." "Why do you say that?" "Because they did not mention it to Frank D'Angelo, because if they did, he would have looked into it." "So how can we know which of the students that committed suicide here at the university were counseled by Rabbi Klein?" she asked. "First of all, we don't want a list of kids that killed themselves. We just want the ones that think Hillel House or Rabbi Klein were responsible." "Same problem." "Not exactly," I explained. "Years ago, if you thought that someone did something bad to you, You would settle it by some sort of an altercation, physical or verbal. We don't do that anymore. What do we do now? We take him to court and sue the pants off the guy that hurts you. I see what you mean. We don't need a list of the suicide victims. We need a list of the people that sued Hillel House or Rabbi Klein. I don't want to know about a suit for falling in the hall of the Hillel House. I want the ones for failing to prevent a suicide. Daphna turned to a keyboard and began typing. Give me a second. Screens came up and disappeared. Daphna noticed something that flashed for a moment on the screen and said, tricky, tricky. Then she typed some more commands. After 5 minutes, she pointed to an item that appeared on a Google search. This could be it. The screen showed a report from a New York Post from 4 years earlier. Marsha Weinstein, the only child of George and Alice Weinstein of New York City, had been a student at Michigan State. She dropped out of school and returned to New York and then committed suicide. 6 months after her death, her despondent father, George, took an overdose of sleeping pills and ended his life. Alice Weinstein blamed both deaths on the improper handling of her daughter's problem by the Hillel House, who had referred her daughter for counseling with Rabbi Klein, who was not a professional psychotherapist. Because she was a resident of New York State, she sued the Hillel House Foundation, which was based in New York, for $2 million. Mrs. Weinstein lost the case at trial and then on appeal, and was required to pay hefty court costs. Where is dear old Alice now? She could still be angry with Hillel House and Rabbi Klein. I wanted to say pissed off, but I knew that Daphna would not approve. Let's see, she said, hitting some more keys. I watched the screens, but everything changed so quickly I had no idea what I was seeing. Is she still living in New York? She turned from the monitor and said with a quizzical look on her face, she does not seem to be anywhere. Unless she is dead, she has got to be somewhere. Well, she never paid the court costs, so her house was grabbed by the courts. She has not paid income tax. She has no address or bank accounts in the USA. She just vanished. Mrs. Weinstein could be a murderer. Can you locate a picture of her? For all I know, she could be someone affiliated with the Kollel. Daphna said, if she killed Rabbi Klein, and I can see why she made it look like a suicide. It is very possible she has nothing to do with the case, but she is our first real suspect. So you admit that Robinson Klein did not do it, she said with satisfaction. I did not say that, I corrected. Just try to find Alice Weinstein. I'll see what I can do, she said. Don't forget, you also have to find the car. How could I forget? Just go back to your hotel so I can work. Get a couple of hours sleep for me as well. I returned to the hotel, and there was a message waiting on my room phone. Rabbi Kalmanovitz wanted me to call him no matter what time I got back. I placed my dirty hat on the dresser and brushed off my jacket as best I could before hanging it in the closet. It needed to be sent to the dry cleaners, but that would have to wait. My shirt had blood speckles all over the front. Not my blood, but it would have to go in to a pile of dirty laundry. First, I needed to loosen my tie. I'm really terrible at tying a Windsor. I usually do not get the two ends to come out where they should, so I just loosened the loop around my neck and took off the tie, leaving the knot intact. With the tie in my hand, I sat down on the bed and called Rabbi Kalmanovitz. He answered his phone on the third ring. Good morning, Reb Shimon. Are you well? I had no idea how the rabbi knew it was me. I'm fine, Rabbi. My right hand is a little sore, but otherwise fine. I saw how you hit that fellow, said the rabbi. Yasha koyach. Blessing and praise, meaning literally, may your strength increase. How had Rabbi Kolell seen the Hillel House incident? He did not watch TV. It was nothing, Rebbe, I said, belittling what I had done. It was not nothing, he said in praise. I saw it on Ephraim's telephone. Amazing what the phones can do nowadays. Not many people could have done what you did. You are a gibor, a hero. And what you did was a real Kiddush Hashem. You brought praise to God. Wow, that was something coming from Rabbi Kalmanovitz. Thank you, Rebbe. Now tell me, please, how have you progressed, said the rabbi politely. I started with the report from the pathologist and continued with what we had learned at the Hillel House. I also told them all the revelations concerning the protesters and how we had been made targets of the attack by some unknown person who had fed the false information to Salim. I ended with the search for the Malibu Impala 209 Chevy and our new suspect, Mrs. Weinstein. Rabbi Kamenovitz remained silent for a moment, then said, "You know, this is all related to Rav Avram's death, don't you?" "Yeah, I'm certain you are right. It also means that you must be getting closer to finding the killer," said the state of the rabbi. "I hope so," I said. "I know so," said the rabbi with determination. "The killer made a mistake. He left evidence of how he did it and who he is." I sensed that Rabbi Kamenovitz knew something. I wish he would share it with me. "We're trying. Try harder. It's right in front of you." "What is?" "The evidence," he said, as if stating the obvious. "And Reb Shimon, if they try to kill you, they're getting desperate. Be careful and take extra special care of Rebbetzin Lachler. She is precious. Good night, and thank you for all you have done." He hung up. Rebbetzin Lachler? So her husband had actually been a rabbi. I thought of Daphna and was amazed at her abilities. Not just with a computer. She was so brave and so smart. I have never met a woman quite like her. I enjoyed her company and look forward to seeing her tomorrow. Uh-oh. Where's this leading? Don't go reading things into that hug. That was purely emergency psychological therapy. No emotional context at all. For her. But what about me? Take it easy. It will all be over soon. She will forget you and you will forget her. No, I won't. But it will be a fond memory. What did Rabbi Kamenovitz mean when he said it was right in front of me? I was still holding the tie in my hand, sliding the tail through the knot, when I realized that it was very similar to the noose that had been tied around the neck of Rabbi Klein. I looked at the slip knot and had a revelation. It was right there in front of me. I took a quick look at the file and ran through the crime scene pictures that I had in my phone, and I was sure that I was right. I now had proof that Rabbi Avram Klein had been murdered. That's the end of chapter 20. Tomorrow we'll do chapter 21. Bye now.